the skills and the talents of W7M, but
Nice.
Furia is Furia. They finished in second place. Yeah, that's 3 points ahead of W7M, but all that matters is they were a top 2 team, and I think they're going to get their spot here. Jesse, I know you disagree, but that's fine. I don't care what you think.
Parker, in the spirit of Canadian Thanksgiving, which it is Thanksgiving Sunday today, I offer you a truce, a peace treaty. Can we come to the agreement that this is about to be a banger of a match?
Well, Jesse, in the spirit of Thanksgiving, I'll say thanks for your kindness, but I'm going to be giving you an L today with Furia winning. So there we go.
All right. Well, we got Chalet on deck first, and the cold hard facts suggest that this is going to be a tough game for Furia. W7M have a 4-game winning streak dating back to stage 1 on Chalet, including beating Furia at the Esports World Cup with a dominating 7-3 win. The Deaths talked about how Furia have a large win streak against W7M, and they did beat W7M in that series, but they still lost the one map of Chalet. So this is going to be the best opportunity that W7M have to beat back Furia in this series. You also take a look at some of Furia's recent games, and I mean, Laxing touched on the desk. A 7-2 loss to Liquid earlier this stage was really tough. They did beat Elevate Academy on Monday in Copa Sul Americana, but I think we can all agree that that's not going to be the toughest opponent that Furia will face all week. And so this will be kind of the real test. How much practice have they been putting into Chalet? We've seen them play it a ton so far in the recent months, but it hasn't looked the best. This is W7M's best map. It's their hometown. It's their base of operations. They should be the favorites, especially here starting on defense.
Might sound like a bold proclamation, but all he's saying, if they get to Clubhouse, W7M wins. Whew, boy. So, hey, Furia, you just need to be, you need to make sure you don't get to that point. A lot of Chalet today, by the way. Jesse, you and I casted this map twice in yesterday's NAL finals. We got to ride along with the conclusion of that game. And now we don't have the finals directly ahead of us, but we do have 2 teams that will qualify today. The winner of this matchup will be the first team in Brazil, technically the South America League, but it's in Brazil, and all of the teams remaining are from Brazil. This will be the first team to qualify for the Munich Major. Later today, Ninjas in Pajamas and FaZe Clan will do battle. FaZe Clan making their way here by defeating Team Liquid. One of those teams will go to the Major as well. Maybe not the best start for my dear Furia, Jesse, as Herds has died at the hands of Dodez. W7M with a nice first pick.
Yeah, the 2 entry fraggers on each side coming to blows, and Dodez better on the long angle with the DMR. JV would love a little trade back, but of course it's not going to be the easiest kill in the world. I don't think he knows that Dodez is holding the doorway. Nobody else from Furia have really made much ground up on the top floor. It's actually Fleetbox and Nade who have entered into the main floor. They'll be coming up against KDS, or up against Loban, I should say, and the Nade will force them off this position. Good Capital Bolt as well is making this a really tough spot. Somehow he's alive, Parker, and he maintains his position on the blue stairs.
That's Furia on the board. You'll try to plug that hole with a Kiva barrier. As there's another Nade lined up, potentially. No. Fleetbox taking him down. Dodez with yet another kill, this time on the KZ. 2 of the most formidable players on Furia, handled by one Rooney, who's seemingly still on the run. Now it's a flank coming in from Volps. And you can see from the silhouette, there's a Furia player not too far removed. I assume he's in the building, but it's hard to tell from the silhouettes as to where he is. Actually, I think that's JV92. Volps might have his back turned. He sees the Blackbeard. This is good intel on the side of W7M. 35 seconds remaining on the clock. Fleetbox is in the room right next to him, and yes, it is indeed JV92 within arm's reach of Volps, and Volps will have likely heard the Twitch stand up. Right now, the assumption on the side of JV92 that Volps is downstairs, and Volps should get this one quite easily. Yes, he will. Dodez a triple nade as best as he can, trying to hold this round together, but everything's fallen by the wayside, and how about a 4K to start round 1 for Dodez? Is W7M displaying some early dominance?
And I think everything going according to plan for W7M in the first round of their qualifying game. Dodez has been their best player all throughout this stage, highest rated on the team, 121 EPS has been so good for this squad. And here on their best map, you expect to see him showing up big in the very first round. Honestly, it felt like Furia stalled out a little bit halfway through that round, didn't it, Parker? They lose their opening gunfight with Herds going down, then KZ drops next. I think if they had gotten a little bit cleaner of a push onto those blue stairs, we could have seen Furia explode towards the site use that map control that they had to work their way into the bomb site, but it just felt like they lost too many bodies in that attempt of clearing the blue stairs. It took them a whole lot of time to be able to get that done. The whole time, it was just Dodez playing inside of office, playing long angles. He didn't have to go for any crazy flanks. He didn't have to make any ridiculous plays. He just had a good gun, was in a power position, and could change up the angle he was holding from time to time. Just classic, strong siege coming out from the entry fragger of w7m, and they'll be feeling pretty good after a 1-0 lead.
5 seconds to insertion.
You got to take everything you can get against a team like Furia. I know that you said that w7m are the reigning major champions, which sure, if we're talking solely about the majors, of which there's one this year, then you are technically correct.
But
I mean, if you look at S-tier events, some will argue as to whether or not EWC meets that criteria. For sake of argument, we could say that they do, or it does. SI is inarguably an S-tier event. Reload, if not an S-tier event, was about as close as it can get. And hey, guess what? Furia excelled in all those areas, and they are one of the most consistent teams so far this year. FaZe Clan obviously having a great year too. They were the SI winners in Boston back in February. Again, they'll be in action in our second matchup of the day, up against Ninjas in Pajamas. FaZe Clan and Furia could be the first two teams to clinch their spot at the major. That was that mashup that we saw in Brazil in one of the best matches of Rainbow Six ever played. Or we could have the quote-unquote underdogs of Ninjas in Pajamas and w7m make it. We will find out. Rome was really good for w7m last game. It caught Furia flat-footed. This time around, not quite the same success. Volps is meticulously flushed out of that position in library, and w7m suffering an early loss.
Yeah, you don't love losing your Zombie so early into the round. Those Kivas no longer will be generating. They're going to try to get some kind of a trade back, but you've conceded library at this point. Probably the most important part of the map other than the bomb site. Interesting, they've reinforced this hatch here, so they kind of expected from the get-go not to be able to hold on to it too long. It means that Volps was really playing in that corner to die. Dots ends up with a trade back, finding Philippox. He's just playing inside the site, so it must have been a tight angle that he gets, and it's a tight shot from JV92 to make sure they maintain man advantage. That's the monster of round one, now removed. Robin trying to get aggressive, just do something to equalize again, but his C4 gets shot Parker, and this will still be a one-man lead for Furia.
Those frost mats will still persist, so Furia better look down when they're vaulting on in. An attempt was made by Loban and Palu as well, as there was a vault out to try and slow this Furia assault down. Dots has two gas canisters in pocket and the SMG pointed at the door frame. 4 players on Furia stand against him. He can easily mop this site, and Dots will be watched under not 1 but 2 drones. Hatch control above in the hands of Furia, and there you go. KZ will get the job done from that upstairs play. An immediate answer back and a very confidence-inspiring round for Furia to tie things up.
Big thing in that round, a big difference from what we saw in round one, was just where Furia were able to take fights. You know, the first round, they lose a lot of gunfights to Dodez, who isn't really roaming. He's taking long angle fights, but he's in the bomb site every time he gets those kills. This time around, because the bomb site is barring games, there have to be roamers upstairs in library and towards office. And so this time, it's a little bit easier for Furia to isolate those picks. They can be a little bit more predictable on their aggression, and so Furia is able to kind of read that and catch it out a little bit. Huge credit to JV92, of course, for slaying the beast, which was Dodez, and then also stopping Loban from getting aggressive right after. You got to kind of question Loban when his nitro doesn't land. It's going to be expected. The jump out there, I think, a little bit ambitious, you could say, trying to catch JV92 off guard. It's going to be pretty rare that he lets you get away with that. But that's what w7m kind of have to do in this matchup too, right? You can't just sit back and let Furia take map control. You have to challenge them at every point of the map, especially on a map like Chalet, where the aggressiveness really does favor the defense. So hopefully we're going to see more of those exciting early round gunfights, and hopefully we can see some more back and forth gameplay.
When you get to this point in time in the season, all you really want is a competitive match. So I suspect that these two will be able to bring the heat. I know for argument's sake, I blazed Furia, if you want to call it that. I mean, I don't agree with that title, but that's the exact wording that you used. There was not much daylight between these two teams. Only a single win separated Furia and w7m from that second place. And ditto to Ninjas in Pajamas, it was a logjam. Nip and Furia both finished in first and second, tied with the same amount of points. Nip finished ahead because of the positive round differential. But w7m and FaZe Clan, the other two teams that will be in action, or well, one of them is in action, but FaZe Clan will be in action later. They both finished with 19 points, so a single kill or a single win behind Furia and Ninja Pajamas. A single kill will come in early, and the player that was hyped up, I believe it was Ollie, Palu, has not really found much so far in this matchup. 3 rounds without a terrible impact, and he's the first casualty for w7m.
Yeah, weird to see Palu starting so weak with a 162 kill-death ratio. He's got the best stats here in the South America League, so seeing him 0-3 is a strange sight. Usually one of the best players at staying alive and playing for the late rounds. We might see that more on attack, but for now his team's going to have to claw back this 4v5, and again, that means they're going to have to play aggressive. They're going to have to take some risks to go for some swings, and it does feel like Furia are ready for this. Herds has got a 3B surely as he swings the corner and does find Loban. That's 2 players now, 0-3 to start things off for w7m. The 3 players that actually have gotten kills so far will have to do it all in the last 90 seconds, but they're still not so aware of Herds' angle. Dodes takes a bunch of damage, and there's just nothing they can get from this Furia attack.
W7M played full court press, almost offense on defense in round number 1. They've not had the same success in rounds 2 now or rounds 3, though a pick on the Herds is about as good as you could ask for. Furia very even across the board in terms of kills. W7M, most of those kills residing in Dodes, who, well, might be living on borrowed time here, Jesse. Very little HP to his name. He'll creep up through bathroom. The 4 remaining players of Furia, far afield. Dots will equalize, though, and W7M were treading water, but now they are swimming, and they are swimming far away from this Furia team. Dots will find a second on the Felipox. A rare basement hold here on Chalet, and it's working out. Dots finds a third. KZ watching as his team implodes with 20 seconds left, and the diffuser now finally under his control. He'll have to go for kills. Dots will look for a 4K. Dota's got a 4K to start this off. Dots will do it as well in round number 3. These individual performances leading the way for W7M. That was a round that surely seemed like it was going in Furia's direction, but the Bulls say not today. They regain the lead.
So that early roam presence, Parker, it didn't really go the way of W7M. They lost a couple of his opening fights with Palu and Loban falling apart, but they at least did some damage clearing out Herds with Dodes getting that late frag, and then it wasted a ton of time. It wasn't really to the last 50 seconds that we saw Furia starting to focus towards the bomb site, which you'd be forgiven for not realizing was the basement at that time. Dots gets a huge Nitro Cell pick onto Nade playing the Osa. It's pretty common for Osas to get killed by C4s, but that was actually just a vert Nitro Cell. I don't think Nade had even used his gadget, so just a clean pick on the verticality. And then with the wall being closed that whole time, never were they able to open up the snowmobile breach. It was just the perfect position for Dots to play. He's just farming those players on the snow stairs, and he's able to get one after another after another. I think his second kill might have even been pushing up towards the window and getting a kill onto Felipox outside the building. So some really nice aggression coming out from Dots in a moment where his team needed him to stand up and be the strongest. Nice to see that coming out from the two brow. The Malusi and Bravo will get banned after our first 3 rounds get played, and we'll have to see how these teams adapt from that. But it's good to see them bouncing back, even after losing those opening frags. The anchor's really coming alive now for W7M.
Reload! 5 seconds to insertion.
You know, it takes a village, but it means you need to be a villager, and right now that's what Palu is doing. He's by no means the star of this team, but he continues to play crucial intel ops, and in this case, Fenrir will be a challenge. If Furia wants to get into the building quickly, they will likely fall victim to these traps. Frost Mat's there as well. Frost certainly not a staple on this map in NA. We didn't see Frost at all in either of the Chalet games yesterday. Here, though, it's been an integral part of this W7M defense. I don't really think the Frost Mats played a huge role back in round number 1, Jesse, but I mean, you've got soft destruction, as you can see right now. Doda's doing some remodeling. You've got a relatively steady gun. I mean, Frost isn't really known for her loadout. It's more for these traps.
Probably the best Frost map in the game as well, Chalet. So many important windows to swing in, and we did actually see one critical Frost kill on the Kino way at the start of yesterday's NAL Playdays, so you know how deadly this operator can be. Dots on the Pulse, also a big adaptation. They didn't bring this the last time they were playing on games. Instead, we saw Dots playing on the Smoke, so this Pulse might be unexpected from Furia. Their entry point is going to be solar side. This is quite away from the bomb site, which means they might assume that it's clear. It is not. There's a few players over here. Davey does find the opening on the Volps, and Loban is hunting for a trade back, but I'm not sure if he's going to find it. Playing on the stairs, his life is very valuable here, so it's important that he doesn't die, but now he sees the Monty, has to retreat back. His teammate Dodez has fallen elsewhere in the map too, so things are really starting to fall to pieces. The roam game from w7m still not finding its footing in this game. Oh.
Is correct. Down goes another player from w7m. Familiar territory for them, though. They've been here outnumbered by this Furia team. I mean, maybe w7m is not quite prepared for this, though. I mean, it's Dots and Palu is the last two standing. 4 of Dots' kills coming in a 4K from the previous round. 4 of Dodez's kills coming from a 4K in round number 1. Palu not able to muster a single frag despite having 5 targets to hit on the side of Furia. Nobody on w7m will, though. In good company, Palu is, as that's a flawless round by Furia to answer back. So the wheels came off around number 3 for Furia. They probably should be up 3-1. They're not. So what do? They make quick work of that 4th round. I gotta say, I don't know how I'd be able to compete if I was Furia with a constant parade of people behind me. If you watch their player cams, Jesse, it seems like there's 15 people just doing laps behind these players. I don't think it gets a little distracting.
Yeah, well, listen, this is a team who have performed under much harder circumstances. Sao Paulo, there were a few more than 5 or 6 people behind them when they had to make that ridiculous comeback against FaZe Clan. So this team is known to play in tough spots, and I think they'll be just fine playing with their support staff and org members behind them in a game like this against w7m, even if it is a critical one. Certainly hasn't slowed down their entries. Back-to-back opening picks over the last 3 rounds from Furia. Not a single one of them traded. And if you're w7m, you're going to know that that is the real struggle point in this matchup. Furia, since the South America League Stage 2 began, have been the best entry team in the league, winning 60% of their opening engagements, 61% if you isolate just to the attack, which again, no other team has been able to beat. w7m have been solid on their entries too, 55% overall, which is not bad by any means, but you're going against Furia, you're going against that ridiculous entry combo of Herds and KZ. You know it's going to be a challenge to win these opening duels, so you got to do stuff like that, catch them off guard, get some big swings when they're not really ready for it. Loban will find the second opening pick for w7m, and just maybe they can find that second conversion as well.
Changing max.
Striking first, always an important part of these matches. w7m doesn't really seem to succeed whether they get the first pick or not. They're able to battle back, as we've seen in a couple rounds so far. I mean, losing KZ is not ideal. Both he and Herds have maybe died a bit too early throughout this stage for Furia's liking, but again, that's the roles that they play. We've got JV92 having the stage of his life. This is one of the best stages for JV92 that we've seen statistically. He was topping the stats for Furia through most of the play days of groups. And so far, he's holding up quite well. Highest frags here now for Furia in round 5. 5 kills, not too bad, averaging 1 per round. Most players would love to be in that position. I'll have to do some utility work on this Twitch, though, Jesse, as now Furia's got in the building, and they'll open up some of this office wall.
Yeah, the top floor is a real problem for them last time. This is where they lost round number 1. Came off some long angle fights from Dodez. He's actually swapped operators over to the Ella, despite playing the same position. Not exactly an operator that excels on those long range engagements, so he'll have to take some closer range fights. Pakibas might enable that. Loban goes for a swing and also loses it to Herds. That's that devastating entry duo we've been talking about. Not an entry pick on that one, but still a critical kill to equalize the numbers now to a 4-on-4. The wall is open. The Kibas still have to be dealt with, but it does feel like with over 60 seconds to go, Furia have the tools to do just that. Dots in a deadly gunfight. He's got 2 toxic babes in his pocket, so if he does go down, that could be critical. Palu is out the building. Not sure exactly what happened. I think he jumped out the master window, but makes it back in without any casualties on either side.
They'll lose more of those walls. The culprit will be Herds, and the ace throwing those Selmas down. w7m are uniquely prepared for this. Yellow brings a lot of things. As you mentioned, Dota swapping over to this operator, but the Scorpion can shred at close range. Same with Dots' kid. He's got 1 gas canister with 20 seconds left on the board. Down goes Dodas, though, and Furia looking to sink their fangs into this W7M defense. So far, so good. A bit of calculations being made, as now they'll vault on in. Smoke from Sen's Gadget, concealing the advances of Furia. Nade getting Diffuser down, stopped by Dots in its tracks. JV92 tears through them, but they're running out of time. Furia needs somebody to hop on the kit, and nobody can get the job done. A lockout defense in the final 10 seconds by W7M saves them the round.
Wow, what an anchor play coming through from Dots. The second round here on Chalet that he has pulled back from the brink. It doesn't feel like W7M, quote unquote, deserved either of the rounds that he's won for them. But when you've got such a dependable anchor in the site to step up, then man, they're going to be winning those quite consistently. And I really think you got to give Dots all the credit in the world for how he's been playing in these late rounds. Just finds the right position to deny that plant, Parker. Nobody's able to stop him pushing deep inside Piano. No one's outside on those windows, which would have been the perfect spot to deny him, but he's the one who's able to read that, playing on the smoke, playing behind that Kiba barrier inside of Piano. Gets one kill, stops the player coming in to try to trade him out as well, and it just comes down to that great mechanical ability with the SMG-11 shotgun combo that the SAS operators play so damn well. Dot's a player who's been a part of this W7M core for an extremely long time, basically since the beginning. Was playing with Loban all the way back on Xbox in 2018, so it's been a long time since he and this core have kind of been together. And you know, he's not always been the biggest player statistically, hard support, shield player. You don't see him popping off in the kill feed very often, but when he's called upon, he is so dependable.
Crazy that Loban and Palu are combining for one kill. I mean, again, though,
Yeah.
if you're not Dodes or Dots, you have 2 kills. That's it. Loban, Palu, and Volps right now. 2 kills between the 3 of them. 12 for Dodes and Dots. A very top-heavy effort, and frankly doesn't speak to W7M's total abilities, because usually you've got these other players in on the action. I do worry a little bit for W7M in terms of sustainability. What if Dots and Dodes die? Will the rest of the team be able to pick it up? Well, we won't necessarily need to answer that question here, Jesse, because Dots gets the first off pick to push his tally to 8 through 6 rounds. Furia really stumbling on these opening picks as this match goes deeper and deeper.
Yeah, we see a very different bottom floor attack coming through from Furia. This time the wall gets opened immediately. That was something they struggled with in round number 3, but thankfully they've got a couple more tools to deal with these electro claws of Volps, and so they'll be able to clear that out, get the wall open first thing, and that's going to have to change the way the W7M defends this. It was a big anchor play from Dots playing just inside the breach, tucked close on the snow stairs, but now he's going to have to find a different position. The roamers are still up here too. This was actually something W7M were not so successful in, and again, Loban does go down aggressive on the roam. Palu is blue stairs, yet to find a kill in this game. Would love a trade back after Loban died, but no opportunity given to him just yet. Nate dies outside the breach, so man advantage goes back the way of W7M.
Opening conversion has been perfect with the exception of round number 3, so you're hopeful on the side of W7M that it works out. That would be a 4-2 first half for the Bulls, and they will continue. Palu getting on the board finally, as now his tally will match Loban and Volps. The 3 of them now combining for 3 kills. A far cry from the top 2 getters on W7M. Not still alive, so the boss on the side of the Bulls, very much in this. Leapox takes down Volps, and now it'll be Palu and Dots to hold this one together. KZ with defuse kit, 45 seconds left. Palu missing the swing onto KZ, and now Dots will have to break double digits. Himself imprisoned inside of Connector, and a great round from Felipox, or Felipox, depending on how you say it. His name's Philippe, so we say Felipox because we're cool like that. 3-3 the scoreline. Neither of these teams any closer to a resolution. Jesse, I feel like we've seen a lot of 3-3s on this map in the last 24 hours.
Well, Parker, that's what happens when you get the best teams in the world going up against each other. You know, the 3-3s are expected. You see the best of North America, now the best of South America. Sometimes in the group stage, you can get some lopsided halves, but it's a lot rarer when you can put the best against the best over and over again. Bit of a scrappy round from W7M to close off their defending half. You know, scattered roam game without really a whole lot of trade potential. Good to see Palu finally getting active, gets his first kill on the board, but once his position gets found out, unfortunately, he's not good for more than one. In this 3-3 position, you've got to imagine both these teams will be feeling in an okay spot. With most teams, w7m are a better defensive squad than they are on the attack. They've been 64% defensive win rate, 55 on the attack throughout this stage so far. So a bit better on the defensive side, but Furia have historically been an attacking team first and a defending team second. 64% attacking win rate is kind of a ridiculous stat to be posting up through the second stage of the SAL. Just like with w7m, their quote-unquote bad side is still quite strong, 59 on the defense, so I'm not so worried about the second half. I think throughout this series, especially on a map like Chalet, it shouldn't really matter which team is on which side, but maybe a change of pace will do well for w7m. You know, despite them escaping the first half with an even scoreline, I think Furia played the better game overall, and it really relied on some heroics from w7m to keep this game tied.
This goes back to that unsustainability comment that I made. 14 of your kills in 2 players across that first half. The rest of the team about as effective as a wet noodle in the fragging department. 1 and 6 for Loben, 1 and 6 for Palu, 1 and 4 for Volps. Now, maybe for Loben, it's not the most important that he gets frags, but Palu and Volps should certainly be better than the numbers that we see. Again, on Furia's side, most of these players pretty even. Herds has been the standout performer. He just surpassed JV92 in the previous round. We come to expect for Furia. Frankly, Nade and Felipox are the 2 names we expect to say the least. But they've been doing well. 6 kills from the support duo is enough for Furia to have some confidence in, and all the score is tied. Will that sustainability matter, though? Because if Dotas and Dots stay hot, Jesse, it doesn't matter if the rest of the team's not getting kills. If there are just 2 guys that have your number, that can often be enough.
They're going to try to hunt for those frags on the top floor clear. Volps finds the entry pick onto Herds. He'll break his breadstick, and that starts things off nice on the opening clear. Herds was jumping out west main window, so they knew his position quite well. These mirror windows are going to be tough to crack, Parker. It's not a very extended hold from Furia. They don't want to fight over towards office. They're happy to play behind their utility. There's not great tools on w7m to clear things out. Worst tools now is their shield player. Dots just gets dropped by JV92. Found an angle on the head, just swinging over towards mezzanine. That's a really tough way to lose your Blackbeard. And it kind of stalls this push out now. That was supposed to be the tip of the spear. That was supposed to be how you gain space. Now, what do you do against this mirror window? I mean, if you can't get a Twitch drone back there to pop it open, you don't have a great way of pushing up. Your Sens wall maybe can give you an opportunity, but it's going to be really tough to get past KZ.
He is entrenched. So far removed from library, guarding blue stairs, guarding chimney, guarding library, all of this with a soft panel next to him and a black mirror in front of him, and you've got nothing long range to deal with this. A Twitch drone could pop it, but I think that's all you're going to get. Nice shot from Palu to take out Nade. w7m finding some kills, but so is JV92. He's all on his lonesome. Volps and Loben combined less than half of the kills that JV92 has at this point in time, but they can easily double up and those numbers can change in a hurry. JV92 knows that there's one pushing him on library stairs. Out comes the sidearm, looking for the ace, but Loben will deny it. w7m winning the first round of the second half. Wow, what a performance from JV92 as his great stage continues. It just wasn't enough in that round.
Ridiculous how hard he's had to carry that round, but it's just not quite enough. Every player on w7m who got a single kill in the first half was contributing in that round number 7. Their first attack, Volps gets 2 kills, Palu gets a kill, and Loben gets a kill. Those are the 3 players we were waiting to see when they heat up. That round was exactly when it was. Again, I didn't think the utility was favorable for them, but what they did, Parker, was they pushed together. They pushed a wide variety of angles, and they hit their shots. And in an FPS like Siege, that's going to be enough from time to time. Palu was pinching in from the library side. You had Dodez on the office balcony. Loben was, of course, pushing piano, and we were focused on him for most of the round. But Volps as well was just entering in through the basement. He was on snow stairs and walked up fireplace to get a really critical kill late into that round on the Felipox as well on site. So
10 seconds remaining.
multi-dimensions coming in through that push on w7m. That only comes off of lots of experience playing this map. Do not forget that this is their map pick, and it's a map that they have played so well this season. So it makes sense that they've got some really well-coordinated attacks.
Even when things seemingly fell apart for W7M, they were still able to stick that landing. They've been terrific at drawing first blood right now, just edging out this Furia squad, 4 first bloods to 3. Bomb site rotation will continue. We see Kitchen for the first time. This was a bomb site that was avoided by W7M. W7M opting for that bottom floor basement defense, which is a bit unorthodox on Chalet these days. Furia will stick with Old Reliable. Means that with Kitchen Dining being the scene of the crime, W7M's first and most important task will be to clear out this top floor.
Big Nitro opening pick from JV92. He is not done. Gets another kill for Furia, the only player to frag out so far in the defensive half. Balut gets a trade back onto Herd. That's going to be the vigil going down main floor. These roamers have really not been able to stay alive for Furia. Candela starting to come into, gets shot out by JV. He's doing it all, Parker, from inside the site. Nade top floor finds a kill with that clash, and these mirror windows working against the defenders. JV, finally his time comes to an end. W7M are in the bomb site. They don't quite have the defuse kit, so they'll need to recover that from, I believe, outside trophy window. And once they can accomplish it, I mean, the bomb site is completely free for the taking.
Nade will have to put that shield away now, as that top floor still being worked on by Furia. They've successfully rebuffed W7M, so a more direct approach to the bomb site will be the play, and they've got plenty of time to pull this off. Still well over a minute left. Hustling with a bulletproof camera, taking out some of the utility that was strewn about the bomb site. Is Nade still in this position? Yes, he is. Right now on trophy stairs, marching his way up, as there's a lot of bullets on the side of W7M. 2 LMGs possibly on the board, but with Dodez rocking the Reaper, I imagine it's the shotgun, Jesse. Just a waiting game.
Yeah, calm before the storm, right? The second Candela comes through from Dodez. He's got 2 more in his pocket. It's just a bit of a fake, hoping to prompt some movement out of Furia, but nothing as yet. 30 seconds. Palu is working his way through the kitchen hall. He's going to get a push in through dining at some point. But will it get stopped? He gets immediately down to Parker.
KZ is ready and waiting for it. There's no real protection here. Nade's been giving calls this whole time, and it allows KZ to thrive. Looking for a third. Will not be had. Lobin shuts the door on more than 2, and will now attempt to get the kit down at the halfway point. Just out of reach of Felipox, who will throw out a Nitro cell. Clashed in position with limited time remaining. They don't even need to get the kill. All 3 players will survive. 2 on the side of Furia, 1 on W7M. But the clock always giving the round to the defenders. Unless, of course, the defuse kit's been planted. A bounce back by Furia. This is a tight match between the 2. 4 rounds apiece.
That's a tough round for W7M to lose, too. You go back to it, and they had site control for such a long time, Parker. The big problem in that round is they didn't have the defuse kit. Volps was on the rappel for the master window, and he was the opening death to JV92's C4, if you'll remember the start of the round. That was him dropping the defuse kit outside master window, so it took them a long time to recover the kit after they had site control. I will say, Palu grabbed the defuse kit at about 1:15 on the clock, so still felt like they could have planted a bit earlier than they did. They were really cautious into when they got into the kitchen site, when they went for a plant. KZ, he kind of had all the time in the world to push in from games, get into the bomb site, kind of get himself established. Lobin on the Nomad, not able to stop him from retaking the site. And you got to think that's a bit of a blunder from W7M because they had so much control and then they kind of just let KZ retake it for free.
Attackers need to locate and defuse.
Enter that plant was never really in a good spot to go down, and that's going to kind of punish you if you are W7M. Ties the game back up at 4. We continue to go back and forth on this game, Parker. Feels like these 2 teams are incredibly evenly matched here on Chalet.
Does the 4-4 scoreline make you say that?
Yeah, that was the main thing that would make me
These
say
teams
that,
are evenly matched. How can you tell? Well, they're tied.
Am I wrong? Am I wrong?
Once
You want me to
again,
say it's a blowout?
once again, you are technically correct.
The best kind of correct.
I'm aware.
Attacker's objective is to defuse a bomb.
Yeah, I mean, I do wonder what this means for Bank, by the way. The fact that Furia is keeping it so close with this w7m squad on w7m's map might be a little bit concerning. Lobin! Oh my goodness! Doesn't hit a single shot on Hertz as he slingshots into the building. If you're one of these players on w7m that's been finding it hard to get frags, be it Lobin, Palu, or Volps, I guess anything to kickstart some offense, Lobin tried his damnedest, but it does not pay off. Not a single point of damage has been done to any Furia player. w7m's already got one of their squad in the ground.
Well, hopefully he can get some good drone calling this round, as, yeah, it doesn't exist for very long in the server. Makes it an immediate 4v5, and Furia don't see any reason to give up the map control. They know that this is still a winnable round for w7m, so hold on to library side quite strong. Crossfire on the hatch, but that's not where Dots enters. He goes for the small window instead and gets shredded by the Scorpion. JV92 12 and 5 now, and he just downed the defuse kit with that kill. Traded out by the nade at the very least, but Parker, the damage has been done. He'll be thrilled with all that he's been able to do so far, sawing them out. They don't even know that he's down, so even when he's dead, he's still wasting time.
Dots' impact on this matchup is slowly falling off, but again, Dots isn't the guy that you rely on to get these kills. w7m's guns need to wake up, or else they're going to start falling behind on their own map. There's Palu securing JV92 as the top fragger on Furia was bleeding out on the floor. Birds and KZ will need to pick up a little bit more weight now because of JV92's absence. These rounds have been punctuated by really early action, which leads us wondering what will happen in the mid-round. That's where we are, just about a minute and 10 seconds left on the clock for w7m to navigate this Furia defense that is up in numbers, and it will continue to get better as Herds pops up on the shield. Volps attempts to get into office. It is rebuffed. And now it's Dodez on a very low amount of HP, and Palu is the last two standing for w7m.
There's just no tools, right? This last nade is going to be used to try to clear out that shield. It looks like it will be successful. The fuse kit is behind Dodez. You can go pick it up at any time, but he actually has to commit to that at some point. Palu is fragging in the meantime, so they're just going to focus on getting the kills. Again, they just walked past Kit. They haven't picked it up still, and with 35 seconds, they kind of have to choose. Are they committing for the frags, or are they going to go back and get it?
I mean, I don't really know why you're ego challenging if you're Furia. You just gave Palu basically 2 free kills here. He's a player that, while his numbers haven't been great, still can demolish you if given the opportunity, and Furia seemed quite intent on doing just that. This is not a very stand-pat defense. This is them taking matters into their own hands, and with 10 seconds left, Nade now potentially wasting time, letting Palu and Dodez get baited into these last 2 players. Palu with a triple. Furia, if you lose this round, it was all of your own doing. Nade saves the day at the final second. Palu almost pulling off a 4K. It would be the 3rd player on w7m to have accomplished it, but it will have to wait for another day as Furia ultimately take the round off of that.
And Parker, it feels like another attacking round from w7m where the defuse kit is completely mismanaged. It's 2 minutes, 1 second on the clock when Dots dies with defuse kit inside of library. Library then gets controlled by w7m not too long after. They have the majority of the round with library control, but never does anyone go to pick up the kit. And in the end, they still got pretty close. I think the guns really came alive. Palu hit some great shots to keep that round as close as it was. But imagine if they at least had the option. Imagine if they at least had that second dimension to their attack, where if they felt they were in the right spot, they could go for a plant. They had a player inside office. They could have gone for a plant half wall, and maybe it was the right call to plant. Maybe it wouldn't have been. But if you don't pick up the kit, you don't even have that choice to be made. So it just feels like maybe something's being missed on the side of w7m. Maybe things aren't really going the way they should be in the communications. I mean, in the chaos of that round, nobody able to say to reset their mental for a second and say, guys, let's grab the kit before we go any forward in this push. I think that's probably something that's going to be talked about in this TAC timeout, because now 2 rounds in a row, they've lost the defuse kit early and have really failed to get it into a good plant position. It's given Furia this lead now 5-4. Have been some strong defenses coming through from them. w7m all stage long have not been a particularly plant-focused team. Only 13% of their attacking rounds have they gotten the defuse kit down. But even still, you got to imagine it should be part of your game plan.
Yeah, I mean, again, sustainability is really the thing that I keep bringing up over and over again. 16 kills in the hands of your 2 top players on w7m. The rest of the team combines for 13. Now, to his credit, Palu did just pick up 3 kills in that round, almost another 4K, but you cannot rely upon one player getting a 4K time and time again. Just a couple days ago, we saw DZ in this exact situation against Shopify Rebellion, where SR ended up losing a map because they were just getting styled on by 1 or 2 guys who were racking up 3Ks and 4Ks every single round. It's not really an optimal way to play Siege. It's certainly not a reliable way to play Siege. And when you get players like Dotas and Dots, who've now cooled off, both of them fast approaching even territory. Dotas 1 more death, all of those kills to break them out of that first half no longer matter. Dots, same thing, 2 deaths away, in a position where now his offensive contributions have dried up. The rest of the team needs to find something. It's been a rough day for Volps. He's been quite ineffective on his entries. He has not been able to match up against his former teammates. Palu finally getting things going is a great sign for w7m, but you need a team effort that has not been there for the Bulls so far. And if you lose your map of Chalet and you go to bank, Furia's choice, down 1? I mean, at that point, does anybody discount Furia to win their own map? Because I certainly wouldn't. So w7m's got to find something quickly, whether it be information, whether it be the entry, whether it be comms. Hopefully that timeout has solved some of these issues for the sake of a competitive match.
Logic Bomb forcing away some of the roamers. Herds does find the entry onto Volp. So, I mean, he just talked about the rough day he's been having. The captain of w7m, 3-8. And everybody falls back to the site, Parker. This is a basement defense, by the way. First minute of this round was spent trying to clear out the top floor, but just did not go the way that they were hoping for. I will say w7m can do quite a lot now that they have full top control. I like the operators they've brought for this. You've got Palu to make sure you won't get flanked up these staircases once the air jabs do get placed down. You've got Loban to do great soft breaching work, and you should have no issues with the hard breach, both Habana and Maverick being brought. So, frankly, they have all the tools they need. I'd like to see some work on the main breach. I'm not sure if snow has been opened. I think it is currently completely closed. Yeah, it's still electrified, actually, from JV92, so might want to get some angles in that late round, but at the very least, they can do some good work with this control. Getting the actual kills is still going to be a challenge. Focusing plant might be tough without any smokes to try to work with as well, so they need to really do something with this control that they've got. Make some work happen on the floorboards with this ram, get a kill on the flank with Palu getting an air jab, but other than the Mav work so far, it doesn't even feel like they've used much of their resources.
I mean, isn't that the easy part, though, right? Like, they need to do something with the control that they've received. Furia is playing one of its most patient defenses that we've seen throughout all of these rounds on the second half. Haven't really used much utility beyond the persistent gadget that's still there. Clash and Warden can use theirs whenever they want, and 2 gas canisters for Felipox with 30 seconds left. Assuming that they go in different directions, there's a high likelihood that the way into the bomb site will be rife with danger for this w7m team. There's one flash to go. The Warden will immediately assume the position. Down goes Loban. KZ tussling with w7m. Main breach still not open, but they were hoping to use that line created by the Maverick to create pressure, but w7m has not succeeded in that regard. Now the 2 players rushing their way down the main stairs, getting picked apart. Palu continuing his good trend, but the time runs out on the round for w7m. 5 to 10 more seconds, and I'm fully confident w7m would have been able to pull that off, but that's not the way the game works. And Furia now sits on map point on w7m's map.
It's just not the team that I'm used to seeing in the w7m colors. I mean, I've often called Loban the man who has no fear. He has so consistently in his career just thrown caution to the wind and made plays and has opened things up for his team in ways that very few players can in a game like Rainbow Six Siege. But that whole round, w7m was terrified. I mean, they got top floor control with a good 2 minutes left on the clock. But instead of opening the floorboards with Ram and starting to work picks, instead of setting up those air jabs and hoping for somebody to flank and get a free pick with the air jab, they spent a whole lot of time just staring towards kitchen, staring towards piano, worried about a roamer that might still exist on the top floor. Nobody was there. There was 5 guys in the basement the entire round for Furia after they got that opening pick onto Volps, and feels like maybe there's a lack of information there, a lack of confidence as to what's going to happen. And because they spent so much of that round just waiting for a flank that never came, the push came far too late, and I think without teeth, really, the aggression that they were waiting for came from the basement. It came from KZ stepping up and challenging the hatch. You got to be more confident if you're W7M in a round like that. You've got to commit to your strategy, use the advantages that you have. I just don't feel like this team is playing to the level that we've seen from them, and the reigning major champions won't be repeating if they continue to play like this.
I mean, they will come to blows early. W7M finding not one, but 2 kills. KZ on the board. Good offense from W7M now as they've struggled pretty hard, Jesse, to get into the building in a positive direction. Maybe this round could break things open for them. They've completely run out of time, though. W7M will need to win the next 2 rounds in a row, then go to OT, then win 2 of those 3 rounds. For Furia, the calculus is far simpler. Just win 1 round over the next 2, and you skate to your map up 1-0 and in an excellent spot to be the first team in Brazil to qualify for the Munich Major.
First real lead we've seen them have in a long time. They're just going to the bomb site. Volps walks in and finds Fleepox. Yes, it's a trade, but the plant can now start. Nade's gotten 2 huge kills. That pulls Dots off the plants. Chaos on the top floor. Palu does find Herds, and Nade is alone in the 1v2 to win it.
He hears the defuse being planted. He's on a collision course with Dots, and Dots blinds Nade, completely killing any potential for a comeback. Nade's a player that you cannot allow to be in a position where he can clutch because he's able to do it. W7M on their entry, able to topple 2 of the better players on Furia. Take out some heavy value utility, sweep through that top floor, translate immediately and very quickly to the middle floor. That was good calling from W7M. That was the correct decision making, and it forced Furia to take engagements that they were not prepared for. If Furia is not fighting under conditions that they like every other team, are ripe for the picking. And W7M, despite what we all said in the pre-show, are not much statistically worse than Furia. These teams have very little daylight between them, and on their best days, they are relatively evenly matched. So Furia needs to be a bit more practiced here. Maybe not as sloppy on their roam. I did give them credit a couple rounds ago for how well and how disciplined they were playing. You need to deal with the aggression that's going to come from W7M because they've got a Nook to creep up on you, a Deimos to keep you locked in, and a Blitz. Maybe not the Deimos. Traditional hard breacher coming out instead, so maybe a little bit easier, Jesse, for Furia, but we're getting a call for a remake from W7M in a very critical round. I'm not sure why, but unfortunate timing.
700 ping, that would be why. Fair enough. Tough to play under conditions like that. I mean, I gotta say, I'm hoping that we can see more of the shield come out from Dots through the rest of these attacks. You know, if we see one more round 12, or if we get a couple more in overtime, feels like Dots on the Blitz has been a real game changer for W7M. He's played over half of his attacking rounds this stage on one of the 3 shields that we have in the game, and I just feel like he can make so much space. You saw it in round 11, right? Getting that entry frag over towards Mezzanine, opening things up for his team to get that 2-man advantage. And then in the late round as well, knows when to pull off the plant, knows when to go for the frags. A free kill onto Nade to shut down the clutch potential was absolutely critical. But it's not just that round either. You go back to the very first attack that they won in round 7. It comes partly off of Dots on the Blackbeard, having some great plays and making some space for his team. The only time that the shield didn't really work out was that top floor attack, where again, he tried to enter in through library and, you know, he got shredded by the Ela. It happens like that sometimes. The Scorpion's a frustrating gun to play against close range. But beyond that, I do feel like his shield play has been the real driver for W7M. And if he can continue to find success playing the Blitz, playing the Blackbeard, that's probably going to be W7M's best shot. We did see him lock in the Blitz before the rehost, so I have to imagine that that is going to be the game plan for W7M going forward in this game. But the real question comes, is that going to be too late, Parker?
I'm not sure, but JV92 has been turned into a whiteboard. I think that's the most concerning sign here for Furia. I don't know how he's going to be able to grip the mouse or the keyboard. I am just, Jesse, I am amazed at the sheer amount of people behind these players. We've cast in Brazil, so I mean, we watched the player cams, but it honestly looks like there's an army behind these W7M players. There's like 20 people around them just milling about, talking on their phones. I don't know. If I was a player, there's no way I'd be able to handle that. I'd be kicking everybody out of that room. It'd be just be far too distracting.
I mean, it might kind of give them LAN vibes, you know? One thing that I know the coach of Furia was talking about in an interview last stage was how sometimes this team kind of needs that pressure, that LAN environment to get going. In stage one, the groups weren't so kind to Furia. I know Herds was a player that was kind of struggling through the group stage through the best of ones, but once they got to playoffs, once they got to LAN, they started to heat up and they really looked like the old classic Furia that we know and love. This time around in stage two, the SAL playoffs actually are not on LAN. As you can see, everybody's back in their own team houses. So maybe you get as many people behind you as you can to simulate a crowd, to simulate that LAN environment, get the vibes up, get the pressure going. If players perform better in that sense, I don't know. Maybe there's some logic to that. Maybe I'm grasping at straws.
Correct me if I'm wrong here, but I thought the playoffs were supposed to be played on LAN at an arena in Brazil. Is that...
They were in stage one. They're clearly not here in stage two. So I guess just a bit of a difference between the two stages.
I had remembered seeing something from production saying that for the playoffs, they would be in an arena for playoffs. So I'm a little confused. I mean, we're used to seeing so much of the Brazil play at the Ubisoft studio that they had I believe it was in Sao Paulo, or at least the studio that Ubisoft had booked out. Obviously, they've all been playing from home in stage one and stage two, but the stage one playoffs, as you pointed out, were played at an arena. I thought the same was here, unless maybe they are all in the same building. I'm not sure. I mean, we'd need some clarification here, but let's put it this way. As English speakers from North America, I don't understand Portuguese. Brazil is often a mystery for us. We are just, way back in the day, I remember when Twitter could not translate like Brazilian Portuguese. So I would try to read tweets from players and I'd be like, this is indecipherable. Like Google Translate has, or Twitter Translate or whatever it is absolutely borked this. I just want to know what you're saying, please. I want to be more familiar with your scene. I like Brazilian Siege. Remaking the lobby, by the way, is there was an issue with ping on the side of w7m right before everything died. It was, some of the players were sitting at 700 ping. Lobby is almost up and ready. This is quite a long time for these teams to not be in action. If you're Furia, maybe it's a bit of a reprieve. You just lost the previous round. You have time to kind of get your head in the game. None of these players look excited. They all look like they're just waiting for this next round to begin. Same can't be said for w7m. They seem to be in good spirits.
Well, it's always going to be important to keep the mental up in a game like this. You know, it's, again, to qualify to the major, the most important game that they've played in stage two so far. It's a critical one, and you can see the vibes are up there for Furia as well. They can laugh, they can joke around, they got to keep their spirits up, even through the difficulties of the tech pause. This game's gone quite well for Furia so far, I would argue, but it's still a close matchup. Only one round separates these two, and overtime, it's not where you want to find yourself if you're Furia. Best of three, so it doesn't matter how you win the maps. Unlike group stage, a regulation win is just as good as overtime, but it's always important to be able to win this first map in a series, take it away from your opponents, or lock it down if it is your choice. Furia, the only team in Rainbow Six history to win 2 majors, and they did it back-to-back back in 2023. It's been a little minute since they've won a tournament of that size, Parker, but even still, getting back to a stage like that, this is always going to be a team that competes, always going to be a threat on the international stage. I will predict, I will go ahead and wager that whoever loses this series is in a good spot to make it through the lower bracket anyways, but you don't want to find yourself in that spot. You could even go back to the last major in Montreal when w7m were the champions. Furia weren't at that major because they fell to the lower bracket. They lost in the lower bracket, and then they got gate-kept in the LCQ by Black Dragons. So even for the best teams in the world, you know how precarious these spots are and how easy it is to let it slip and lose out on one of the most important tournaments of the year.
I almost have the lobby ready for us to get back into. And no, I mean, you're absolutely correct. One of the things that Furia has always struggled with is being dominant in their own region. right? You've got teams like FaZe Clan, you've got teams like even Liquid who can excel and do typically quite well. Furia has always flourished on the international stage, whether it's that they save most of their stuff for those events, or maybe their playstyle is just better suited for other regions, even their own regions, frankly. But I mean, you saw how close things got against FaZe Clan in that Sao Paulo Grand Finals. But I mean, Furia's always done well against NA, against EU, especially against APAC. So all they need to do is just get there, and they should be good. Some of the best teams in the world have made it now to the Munich Major. I think there'd be a pretty hard argument to be made that there are better teams that could have made it, maybe one or two, but usually we see some surprises. This time around, the only real surprise that I can think of maybe is wildcard in NA. I look at the APAC landscape and I think all those teams are fine. I think they all deserve to have made it. And here in Brazil, I mean, only really Los as a team would be, in my eyes, a surprise out of Brazil to make it. Los obviously sitting in the lower bracket, waiting on the loser of Ninjas in Pajamas and FaZe Clan. Team Liquid is waiting for the loser of this game. The winner moves on, guarantees themselves a spot at the Munich Major, just as one of the teams in the NIP FaZe Clan coming up after this match will do the same. And then we'll have to wait till next week to know which of the teams else will be making it. Two teams will move on, and then of course we've got the whole upper bracket, lower bracket grand final rigmarole that'll be going on Friday, Saturday, and I believe Sunday, if my schedule is correct. We're back in action. Thank you for your patience. As always, Furia 3 minutes away from sniping w7m's map, but with the round that w7m put in before this break, it's far from certain that Furia will prevail.
I was waiting to see if that blitz would reemerge. Teams are allowed to change their operators after a rehost, and it does look like that has been the case. Dots moving over to the Monty instead of the blitz. A little bit less aggressive of a shield. I've really liked his blitz play so far, but he's a capable Monty in his own right. Nade on the Clash is going to be a tough problem to solve, though. A classic Monty counter with that electricity can really slow your roll in an attack, so you've got to find some way to get past that. Defenders on all three floors, one on the top, one on the mid floor, and then there was a guy in the basement, but I believe they've actually retreated back up. Furia just going to have JV92 below the site then, as these other four players are remaining up above it. That means this top floor clear is going to be critical. You see the util work coming through, two ranged hard breachers starting to open up the walls and the castle barricades. What is the answer to this clash though, Parker? What util is going to actually allow you an entry point into this top floor?
Yeah, I mean, you don't really have the tools to do it. Maybe an air jab to knock them over, but I mean, that's really about it. So you're just going to have to coordinate, maybe triangulate the position of this clash and punish her from an angle where the shield doesn't protect her. It is possible. That's probably the best way to handle it.
Not seen it so far, though. Very slow, 90 seconds in, and we've yet to find a gunfight. Here's the first, Palu versus Herds, but there's no casualties. Herds will now go to the basement, maybe looking for a run out or just to rotate back up West Main. Here come the air jabs, and they've taken space, but it's only the space that Furia have given.
There's flashes in front of Dots as he slowed down from the clash. Herd's the only one taking some damage on the side of Furia. Palu's been taking a beating on w7m. Dots rushing on in, but there's KZ tucked into the corner. He was ever so patient, and his patience is rewarded, running headfirst into a wall, blinded by Lobin. So w7m will have the follow-up. Things very quickly falling apart for this team. Now to a 3v3, so Dodez, he had a great first half. He gets on the board. Volps as well. w7m attempting to keep this one together. JV92 felled from an angle he wasn't aware of. Lobin having one of the best rounds he's had all game. It leaves Felipox to try and hang in there. Shoved out of his spot by a nade. Expecting someone in West Main. Up he goes, squaring himself over towards Trophy. He's found two for his trouble. Where, oh, where is Lobin, the last player? Only a couple seconds left. Now a reposition from Felipox, and he gets the job done. My God, what a clutch from the captain. Felipe, you've done it again. Furia takes w7m's map 7-5.
entry frags at the start of Chalet. The first round, he got 4 kills, and we thought, okay, this is w7m business as usual. As the game went on, Dodez kind of fell off. Specifically on the attacking side, I didn't feel like Dodez was really having much of an impact at all, which is weird because in the group stage and even in the first game of playoffs, he was a better attacking player than he was on defense, if only just slightly. So I don't know. I'm really hoping that we can see Dodez come alive in this game, be that star entry on the roam that we know he can be. It's never easy when you're going against the entry duo of Herds and KZ, but nothing's easy when you're trying to qualify for a major. That has to be the goal of getting into this game.
And I don't know what happened, but we've lost Nate. So hopefully this is not too long of a delay before we get underway. It might be a longer delay.
Well, Parker, I can touch on the map, on the operator bans quickly while we're here, since I have the time. We always talk about Bank being such a strong map for those ranged hard breachers, but they've only banned out one of the two here, which I find really interesting. W7M banned out the Ace, as you would traditionally see, but then they followed up with a Monty. Now, Nade is a great Monty player. I think he's probably one of the best Monties that we've seen in the North America League. Fleepox will play that operator from time to time as well. They're quite flexible with who plays those shields, but it just feels like it's a strange decision to ban out the Ace without banning the Habana. It might have been in relation to the Mira ban. Once Mira got removed from the attacker side, they thought, well, maybe now it's not so important to remove the ranged hard breachers, because part of the reason why they are so strong is dealing with those long-range Mira windows that you see on Janitor quite commonly. It's not a promising sign that Dodez has just got up and walked out of the room. Might be a quick little bathroom break from him. And the attackers banning out both the Mira and the Clash, as I mentioned, 2 really powerful operators here on Bank. But you leave in the Kaid, which is by far the most commonly banned defender on this map. So watch out for some of those hatches. They might stay electrified, and it might be quite difficult for the attackers to open them up.
Bank is an awfully big map, and it allows teams to excel both on attack and defense. If you look at the global stats on this map, there are only 3 maps with positive win rates for the attackers. Now, 2 of those maps are basically a coin flip, and Bank happens to be one of them. Chalet is the most attacker-favored map in the entire map pool. We just saw how that played out in the Furia vs. w7m map 1. But here on Bank, globally, it's about a 50-50 map. But here in the South America League, it is heavily attacker-favored, far and away the most attacker-favored map. Heading into today, it's based mostly on group stage matches. Bank has the 2nd most rounds played of any map, just trailing Lair. And of that, 57% of the rounds played on Bank have been won by the attackers. So we're starting to get into that attackers need to win 4-2 territory. A 3-3 is possible. If the teams are evenly matched and the operator bans skew a certain way and there's one bad round, that can completely tilt it in favor of the defenders, or at least towards an even first half. But basically, bare minimum here, Furia should be getting 4 rounds. And they're going to be starting on attack too. Starting on attack on their own map, that is a bit surprising.
And it's important to note that the reason why Bank is so heavily attacker-sided is because Furia have been playing Bank more than anybody else. They played this map through 60 rounds just in Stage 2, which is an absurd number of rounds to play on one map. 5 of their group stage games were played on this map. So Furia have been the trendsetters. They've been defining the statistics themselves that have been exceptional, winning 2/3 of all attacks on this map so far. Going to have to put one together to start off this game on the basement bomb site. It's a pretty heavy commitment to the roam, but again, this is kind of what you see on Bank, where these quote-unquote roamers on the main floor are all playing very close to hatches so they can quickly drop off if they're shooting some drones or getting flashed out with some utility. Oban, I guess, the exception, a little bit more aggressive than you'd see, and he gets credited with a little bit of damage, but takes some in return, and now we'll have to get some assistance from the Azami to retreat back to site. Big play from Dots to come up, support his roamer, and walk away with a kill, all because of it. Doesn't take any damage in that aggressive move, and you've killed the main fragger on W7 on Furia.
You got there eventually. Herds was the first one to die on the side of Furia back in map number 1. Maybe you didn't count on Felipox dying too. Furia struggling on this entry. I mean, w7m got to choose which side they went to, so I mean, maybe raise a little bit of eyebrows that they opted to defend first on a map that does tilt so heavily in favor of the attackers, but leave it up to the teams to know a little bit better than us. Now it's KZ getting toppled. Nade is the last one for Furia with over a minute still left on the clock. Things went bad for this Furia team in a hurry. Second sledge is the charm. And w7m can get a little bit aggressive here, maybe knock this Furia team off stride. It looks like it's Dots now testing the reflexes of Nade on the double door leading into open area. Those big double doors being watched by these defenders. Looked like Dots was going to get a bit more into the fight. He'll be isolated by a nade, tossed out by Nade. We really should disallow players from naming themselves after things in the game. We just had to suffer through almost six maps of diffuser. Now it's Nade and Nade. Oh my god. So confusing, Jesse.
What are you gonna do, Parker?
Nothing. Complain.
Fair enough. Not a lot Nade can do in this round either, unfortunately. The time ticking down. Gets one for the stat pad, but it's not really going to be winnable. But the second map, w7m get the opening round, that it comes off of a strong defense. And one thing I was maybe critical of for w7m on that last map was how fearful they looked in some of those rounds. You know, they really didn't seem confident in a lot of their later rounds in that map. That was certainly a confident round that was played by them on their defense. I said it before the round really got into things that it was probably going to be a situation where they shoot a few drones and back off. Not the case at all. A full commitment to fighting on the roam game. And again, I think that's what you have to do if you're going up against a team like Furia. Yes, they're talented, but you are talented fraggers as well. Allow your mechanical skill to shine. Go for those aggressive plays. Sit around on the main floor. Rat in spots that you're not expected. Play off of your teammates. It's one thing to just be able to hit your shots and get some good kills on the roam game, but the real difference maker has to come at this level with the coordination. We saw that from w7m, push up the main stairs from the Azami, the trades going on over towards square side. It felt like at every point, there was another player that Furia didn't expect that they suddenly had to worry about. It's going to be tough to keep that up on some of the other bomb sites, I have to say. Top floor site in particular can be a tough one to roam on sometimes, just because there is no verticality above the site. It all has to happen from down below. But if w7m can keep up that trend of being aggressive on the early round, aggressively fighting those entries, then they've got a chance of winning a few more of these defenses.
10 seconds to go.
You can't really let this one run away from you, right?
5 seconds
w7m showing up oh so well on this map. They got up to a good start on Chalet too. Promising first round with Dodez getting that 4K. If you will recall, the opening pick went for w7m. They won that upstairs bomb site by most measures. It was about as good of a start as you could have. Then we went into a seesaw contest before Furia gained the edge in the second half. If that same thing happens here, that means Furia takes this in a 2-0 series and qualifies for Munich. Really, it's about, I think, just a little sloppiness from Furia. It took them some time to settle in on Chalet. Maybe they disrespected this w7m team and thought that they could get away with some quick and cheeky peeks. w7m will punish you. Furia hopefully have learned that lesson now here in map 2.
Yeah, Furia, not often a team that needs to learn a lesson more than once. Got a good little start on this round. Very heavy focus on the lobby side. These SAM cams being set up by JV92 are an interesting little bit of adaptation. Felipox will start to get some drone in as well, so there's going to be a lot of information going the way of Furia. It's important that w7m rein this one in a little bit. They won round one by playing aggressive, but now that there's so much information being played off of the Furia side, you kind of need to rein things in and let them waste their own time gathering this info. Don't let them get frags off of it. So far, they've done a good job of that. Both Castle and Azami being brought for this defense. Kind of a surprise neither of those ops got banned out. No surprise to see them both being played here on the top floor.
Zero is an operator whose global pick rate is in the ground, but Furia rocked him on Chalet and will now do the same here on Bank. I mean, I guess if you're struggling information, you got to bring him. I feel like a lot of teams use him similarly to the way that a Deimos would function, and I do have to ask the question, why not just bring a Deimos? If you're struggling with roam clears, or if you're worried about rat spots, a Deimos is one of your best assets, especially if there's no mute on the board, as you can see on the side of W7M. Herd's involved in the opening pick 2 rounds in a row now, Jesse, but this time he walks away with a kill. Down goes Paulu. This is a great line for Dodez. Trapped inside of the elevator, completely defanging this push as down goes Felipox. Furia will lose 1.
No real time here, Parker. They've got to get things going fast. Nade's trying to make an entry on the CEO windows, but Dodez is still in a fight elevator. He does get flattened, so that's good space. Now they just got to find a plant.
Still these rat angles, but W7M is just falling apart. Getting shredded like a wet paper bag at this point. Volp's inside a conference room. He will convene a meeting of the minds. The Mines will win, unfortunately. Furia answering back. JV92 with the final kill after there was one by Volps as he got the Grim looking the other way. But just as we saw in map number 1, an immediate answer back from a much more confident and poised Furia.
Yeah, it was a great little attack coming through, specifically from Herds, of course, that 3K walking up the spiral stairs. Was worried about the clock because it was getting kind of down there, but they had good information from the drones, good information from the SAM cams, and it really did allow Herds to do what he does best, and that's walk in and click some heads. A 146 attacking KDR through the stage so far. He has been a menace on the offensive side. He put a good gun in Herds' hands, and there's very few players that can stand up to him. It was a good job of being able to get that opening pick onto Paulu as well. He had rotated down the main stairs, which I think was his attempt of going for something a little bit aggressive. Again, I think when you're going against a team that are playing the zero, that are playing with such heavy drone economy, you kind of want to rein in those aggressive moves. But it's difficult, right? Because you're W7M, you're known for your aggression, you're playing against Furia. The fact that you've kind of got to switch up your play style over and over based on what the defense or what the attack is doing is not an easy style of Siege to play. They kind of just have to, especially without knowing the attacking lineup, they have to kind of guess it to what's being brought by Furia and try to play into that. Bit of a learning experience on a round 2 though, as they learn how difficult that lobby push defense can come.
It's said many times, but frankly bears repeating. When you get into the top 4, the top 6, the top 2 of a region, depending on what you're looking at right now, and I think it's safe to say that at this present point in time, these are 2 of the top 4 teams. One of them will get knocked down to the lower bracket. That will be the loser of this bout. If it's this map, that means W7M drops down to face off against Team Liquid. If Furia loses the next 2 and it's a reverse sweep from W7M, then it'll be Furia dropping down. You expect there to be parity between these squads. They were both very good in the regular season. W7M amassing 5 regulation wins, 2 overtime wins. Furia 6 regulation wins and 2 overtime wins. The only difference was that W7M won one more or lost one more game in regulation. Only 3 points separating these 2 teams, and despite the fact that Furia finished second and got a bye in that first round, there really shouldn't be a huge difference between the potential of these squads. What tips the scales in favor of Furia, in my eyes, Jesse, is that this is their map, and they have been oh so good on it, as was touched on by the desk and even mentioned by you before the first round was played.
Gonna trade a util as Volps is tossing Toxic Babes in response to the Candelas. That's a favorable trade for W7M. Now there's only 1 left. The Toxic Babes will fade, and this is gonna be the push. He's got the hash to fall back through, and he does just make it out. Beautifully done. And 2 players go down. Loban finds JV92. Felipox downed inside a janitor. Likely picked up at some point, but now with Nade falling as well, this push has really fallen to pieces for Furia. Still, does Loban sit inside of checkers? That front desk position could be looking for a couple more picks. Doesn't get caught on the Lion's scan, stands still for a moment, but they know he's up there. They know he's still a threat that they've got to be worried about. KZ trying to find some kind of an opening down here on the main floor, but not finding it. Here comes the blitz engagement, and it's a good pinch. Herds from the other side of Banana will be able to find that frag and make it a 3v3. Low time, though, Parker, and I think that W7M are still going to be quite happy with the situation they're in. No more Ying on the board, and the blitz very low HP.
I mean, that was a very impressive comeback from Furia on the top floor. The way that they were able to position themselves to deal with W7M's offsite players is something worthy of praise. And because of it, this round has become eminently more winnable. KZ will see another as Dots now deciding to engage over towards Archives. Out will go a nade to move him out of his position, and Dots gets a bit more aggressive. Volps dies. Dots needs to worry about getting shot at from the side, and KZ wins the engagement. This should not have been a round that Furia was in contention for, and yet they are. They'll snag the lead after an incredible play on that top floor that was perfectly transitioned down to the bomb site.
And what do you even do against a guy like Herds, man? I mean, this has just been a menace for w7m to try to deal with. A bit ironic that when w7m first entered Rainbow Six Siege as an organization, Herds was the player that they leaned on. He was the first player they ever signed in Rainbow Six Siege. He stayed on this team for many, many years, back when they were one of the bottom teams in Brazil. Eventually, that tide, of course, changed, and they became not only major champions, but SI champions, the best team in the world, and probably the best team the modern era of Siege has seen since that G2 core way back in the day. Now he is on the other side of things, though, re-signed with Furia after their big SI victory, and has been a big problem for w7m ever since 5 games in a row. Furia have been able to take down w7m. So Herds 7-2. Feeling strong with it. w7m, I wanted to see them pop off in some of those entry engagements. I want to see Dodez really starting to find his footing, and I just don't think we've seen that so far, Parker. Even when the rounds start strong for them, even when they get a couple of kills and use their util quite nicely, there's always that real problem player on the attacking side that they haven't found a way to deal with just yet.
10 seconds remaining.
Furia full of threats. Furia full of concerns for any team. w7m just, I feel like, don't have that same level of experience. Even if a lot of these players did make it deep at consecutive majors and multiple majors over the last couple years to boot, it's a team that just lives in the shadow of much larger personalities. And I mean, the org is so well known that no matter who is playing on it, they're going to get a bit of a larger spotlight, and rightfully so. But these players have made a name for themselves with their success. After a strong start in map number 1, Dodez has fallen off of a cliff. He and Dots putting in a much weaker performance, which is okay, again, because w7m has that depth. But for this round, losing somebody early yet again is not ideal. Furia only 4 kills away from a 3-1 lead. And they are right now tussling with server downstairs. Volps will fall as well at the hands of Herds. And they've got Palu on the run, trapped inside of blue. He can hear the shield at the door. Palu will either die here with nothing, or will be able to pull off a 2K. There you go. Swamped by JV92. We are a minute into this round, Jesse, and w7m just have 2 players left. A very quick pace set by Furia. KZ will look to take advantage of the melee, as he's now standing in garage in his own smoke, waiting for one of those yellow silhouettes to pass. There's Dots to challenge him, keeping KZ busy. Loban can now take out JV92, and the diffuser will be walked in by Nade. A long stretch of action now is where's the coverage? Loban walking all the way up. He sees the shield taken out by Herds. It's a double, and now it's Dots above, shredding the Osa of Felipox. Felipox yet to get on the board for Furia, but that's okay because Herds has 9 kills, Jesse. Dots will now need to contend with this diffuse kit in a very, very long pregnancy that was this action. KZ finishing things off. Down goes Dots, and Furia off to the races. 3-1 the scoreline.
Yeah, I can't lie, Parker. The lower bracket is looming, and it's not that far off for w7m. It's a flawless site rotation for the attackers as Furia win back-to-back-to-back rounds, and that will prompt the immediate attack timeout from w7m. That round's honestly so tough for them. It's a wall bang from JV92 to get the opening frag onto Dodez, which, you know, I mean, that's unfortunate, but at the same time, Dodez is the guy that we've been begging to get more active in these defensive entries. He was so good on Chalet to start their defensive half and just hasn't been able to come alive on bank. 1-4, the worst stats so far on w7m. Then you follow that up with Hertz just finding a ridiculous frag onto the Tachanka deep inside the site. The bodies, they fall one after another. It seems like they're getting swatted down like flies. I honestly don't know how you stop this if you're w7m. I mean, it doesn't feel like they're doing anything particularly wrong. They're just getting flattened by Herds. It's not just Herds. There are other players shooting back on the side of Furia for sure as well. But when one player like this is doing so much damage for a team, I just don't know if you're going to find a way to stop him, at least until you get to that side swap where maybe you can control the gunfights a little bit more. But when Herds is playing the entry and he's playing on attack, I mean, he can choose when and where he's going to take these fights, and you can't really do a whole lot about it. Maybe you try to work some cheesy way to kill him. You try to get like a nitro cell pick or something. I don't know, Parker. There is no easy answer for stopping this Furia horde.
Yeah, the hordes are banging at your gates right now, and they are not standing up to proper scrutiny. Maybe it's just maybe it's bad infrastructure. There's an infrastructure deficit here. Not entirely certain. Either way, yeah, I mean, Furia on attack, on bank. Again, the way that this map is played in Brazil, numbers back up the fact that it is a heavily favored attacker-sided map, and not just that, but the most attacker-sided played so far this stage. Globally, it's an attacker-sided map as well, but that's really just us fluffing the numbers. It's so close, it might as well be a 50-50 map, which still shows that Furia can easily walk away with 3 rounds without really sweating. Based on the numbers here in the region, though, you expect a 4-2 scoreline for most teams, and with the familiarity that Furia has, I think that's a pretty safe bet. With the numbers being where they are, Furia are almost there. And w7m haven't just been losing these rounds, but they have not really been in any confidence-inspiring defenses, bar the one round that they won to start off the map.
Alu ratting in the basement seems to be the answer for this top floor defense coming out now. Not sure if this is going to be the play that works out for them. At the moment, it doesn't seem to be known. Herds is flicking between drones at the moment, so they are very much waiting to see what can happen. With 3 players out on the CEO rappel, and I guess a 4th if you include KZ, there's not a whole lot that a basement flank is really going to be able to accomplish. Only JV92 is actually in the building. Herds swings in to make it 2, but even still, not sure what this plan is going to be from w7m. For Furia, it's obvious. They're going to open up through square. They're going to make this push happen with the smokes from Herds to try to get that plant down. This flank from Palu is perfectly timed. Not quite. He misses Parker and shut down by JV.
Oh my. w7m called their timeout too, didn't they? So there's really not much at this point in time they can do to fix the issue. 2 remaining players at w7m. Volp's having a really rough day. On his role, you expect him to get kills. You expect him to be able to stand up against the best of the best. He's done so, and he's had some incredible matches. Breaking double digits, breaking 15 kills, breaking 20 kills, but not here. Not today. He's not even able to muster 1. Dodez on the board, the only kill so far, and I mean, hey, it's a very high priority pick. Down goes Herds with all 11 kills for Furia in the ground. 4 more to be found. Dodez takes out KZ. A nice shot, and he finds a 3rd. He's just continuing to circle around, but the miracle run will end at 3. Nade sealing the deal after getting off the defuse kit. And w7m coming up empty-handed time and time again. Furia off to quite the lead. 4-1 with 1 remaining round for Furia to continue to stat pad.
Nice attempt there on the 1v5, but you've got to get some help from your teammates. It's tough because every move that w7 are making, everything they try to pull off, Furia, they're ready for it. w7m, Palu coming up with the server hatch. I mean, it was nearly the perfectly timed flank, except JV is ready for it. He's watching bottom square to make sure that that flank can't go off, and even still whiffs a couple of shots, doesn't eventually get the kill onto Herds, just dealing some damage. Everybody else flustered inside the site too. It just feels like this team has not been able to find their footing all series long. Now they're going back to the bottom floor. This is a desperation round to try to win. If you can't win at least 2 of your 3 basement bank defenses, I mean, you're in real tough shape. Running very much a similar lineup to what we saw back in their previous attempt. Last time this round opened up with Dodez getting fried inside of open area, and then the push just didn't stop from Furia coming down through server. A classic push coming their way. We need to see the w7m players stay alive for longer in this round so that they can waste time and then eventually try to win with these nitro cells and the Chachanka fire that they've brought deep in the basement.
I mean, there's a lot to say here about Furia, and hard to balance it out with this W7M team and what they've been able to put forward. It's been, frankly, a very impressive stage for W7M. It just seems like they have their hands full in this matchup. The saving grace is that even if this continues on this trajectory and Furia grabs that first spot for the major, W7M will still have a chance. One of a rematch against Low, so it'll be a matchup up against Team Liquid. Liquid falling to the lower bracket by doing battle against FaZe Clan. FaZe Clan not finishing in the top 2, which is a bit of a rarity for this region. It was a newly rejuvenated and nice to see return to form Ninjas in Pajamas. Took first overall. They got a bye. They'll be in action against FaZe in our matchup that might be coming sooner than we thought.
Well, W7M doing a good job of staying alive, Parker, and they've been wasting time really nicely too. Eventually the Zoto canister runs out and the can opener does the work, so JV can take a step back. Takes a little damage from the can, but it's fine. Shouldn't be anything to worry about late round. A late round Electroclaw will stop this hatch and deal even more tick damage to JV, but with loads of gas still in that blowtorch, he should be able to open it up without any problems. KZ will be the pinch player, and he actually finds a guy inside garage. Brilliant shot to take down Dots. That's the opening pick, and potentially a phone that can go his way to hack those cams. Might make a huge difference, but there's a double reswing coming out. They know they have to get this trade, but he's got the feet angles, Parker. That's 2 for KZ, and potentially there's the third.
Oh my. Herds dies again, but again, that depth is there for Furia. Just so little going well for W7M. Almost like we're witnessing the slow demise of this Bulls team. Good has been able to get a single kill, but now we'll have to work with the Diffuser 2 going down. Furia spending an awful lot of time talking in chat. Those eliminates Nate, and this has become a lot more winnable. KZ and Felipox still upright. Felipox searching for his first kill. It could be a very impactful one. Dotas will now hop on the kit. Hatch being watched. He's trying to bait them out. Dotas is a great gun, but they're just going to toy with them. And there you go. Felipox. The very first kill, and it comes as the exit frag of round 6. Furia up 5-1.
Maybe some hope in that round if it wasn't on the basement of Bank, one of the hardest sites to retake in Siege. A 5-1 split. Furia feeling so in control of this game. Beautiful shots being hit by KZ that last round, combined with Herds. It just feels like this team is unbeatable in the gunfights. Such a menace to go up against. In W7M, you got to think that their chances were really by winning maps 1 and 3. I don't know if this Bank is really going to be looking their way. This will be the 12th game in a row that Furia have won on Bank if they can win the next, or if they can win at least 2 defenses in the second half. And that will also, of course, propel them straight into the Munich Major, where they will go up against the best teams in the world, try to compete to win another international event this year. They got first place back at the Reload kickoff event in Rio de Janeiro, their home country, which was a huge win for them to get back on top after not winning any tournaments last year. Top 3 eventually at EWC, again showing their prowess on the international stage. And then, again, looking very likely to qualify to Munich. I would very much expect them to be at the 6th Invitational in Paris as well, Parker. Plenty more Siege to be played from this team, Furia, and I think we're just starting to see how incredibly talented they can be domestically.
I don't want to say we've been waiting for Furia to hit their stride here in Brazil, because I feel like there have definitely been stages where they've done so, but certainly against a team like W7M, this shouldn't be as much of a walk in the park as it has been for Furia. Good news, though, for W7M fans. They are on the statistical better side here in this region. It might be an unfamiliar map, and it still might be Furia's pick, but this will give you and afford you a bit more grace and maybe a bit more success too, but sometimes grace is all that you can ask for if the success won't be found. I am excited to see what the conclusion is of this matchup, just as I am excited to see Nip and FaZe Clan up next. You and I have been front and center at sending a whole bunch of teams to the Munich Major through really no help of our own. We have not been the reason why, but it is still nice to be able to voice that action. A lot of good teams have qualified, and many good teams from Brazil will still be in position to qualify, even if they drop down today. Right now, W7M, as they turn their focus to this match to try and stave off defeat, they will need to deal with a Furia team that they have struggled with, not just on their own map, but now doubly so on Furia's map of Bank.
Maz are on KZ's in a pretty aggressive spot, very similar to what we saw from, I believe it was Loban back in round number 1 of this game, where got to play kind of aggressively, got to really cause some problems for the attackers, and that was the one and only round that W7M were able to win. These Kiva barriers, it'll be obvious where KZ is playing, but he makes it all the way back out, wastes 90 seconds in the round, and decides that is good enough for me. Honestly, should be good enough to win this as well. Nate is playing aggressive in the elevators. He loves to play the spot on the Tachanka. He is a very passive player, so he will back off before he's in any real danger, but this allows a little bit more fear to creep into the hearts of W7M, stall things out even longer. Now, if you're W7M, if you're the Bulls, you have 70 seconds to try to work a push onto the site. You've done really no work at all in terms of clearing out the utility, and you're going to be going up against all the Tachanka fire coming through from Nade, 3 Toxic Babes being used by Hertz, Kiva barriers being set up in the bomb site by KZ as we speak, and these Dread Mines as well will be really annoying to try to clear through. Got dots on the block, maybe make something work, but Parker, I'm just not sure if they've got the tools. Setting up for a back push now to try to avoid most of it, but Furia will be wise to this, no doubt.
Furia doesn't really need to do too much, right? Look at the patience on both of these teams. Unfortunately, patience isn't going to get the job done for W7M as they now filter into the bomb site, or at least close to it. Leadoff pick for Furia, 20 seconds left, 9 players still alive. A rather slow round for the attacking forces. Dots tears some strips out of JV, but he's still alive. W7M now getting ever closer to the site, but running out of time in the midst of the smoke, choking out lines of sight. Furia take the advantage, traded right back. All Furia needs to do is just wait this one out. Volps is last man standing, tries to get Diffuse Kit down 6-1. Furia absolutely walking their way through this. Bank just oh so good, and my, what a fall for W7M. We were hoping for a competitive Bank. We still hope. Furia is 1 round away. The first spot here in Brazil, going to one of these teams for the Munich Major.
And I mean, you go back to some of these individual gunfights, Parker, and you can just see the confidence difference between these two teams. Palu flashes JV under the elevator hatch. He is full white. He's dead to rights. And I think any other player in that circumstance, if this was an even game, if this were two teams that had the utmost amount of respect for each other, you'd run out of elevators. You'd concede that space to Palu and maybe even lose your life if Palu was fast enough with the firing trigger. But not JV92. There's probably no player in South America who will disrespect you as much as that man will. Hides in the corner instead to kill the Palu on the opening frag. Drops the hatch, just not expecting such a bold play to come out. And I mean, I think that's just a great example of the difference between these two teams, the difference in their confidence. Furia know they've got so much room to play with. They've won the last 6 rounds in a row. They're going to be bold. They're going to try to make you make mistakes. And if you make those mistakes, if you don't clear your corners, if you don't join them out, they will be happy to punish you every single time. W7M must win the next 5 rounds or they will be headed to the lower bracket to face against Liquid next week. And I gotta say, Parker, if I'm Liquid, I'm licking my lips with how W7M have looked this game.
This is a bit of a gross image. A bit of a gross image, but I'll take it. Yeah, I mean, with this W7M team, hard to glean how they will match up against another squad, but I share your opinion. I would be pretty pumped if I was facing off against this W7M team. They've shown some very obvious weaknesses, but I do also want to caution people from thinking that Furia and Liquid are the same team, because they just simply are not. And if you're expecting Liquid to match up against W7M, Liquid, a team that historically struggles with easy matchups on paper, anything can happen. Also, we're noting that while playoffs are a different beast, it was W7M who finished higher in the standings.
Pretty quick to get the site open now, less than halfway through the round. The ace charges will go off, and it'll be very obvious where the push wants to come. Furia can start to get ready for that. They are doing good work, I think, on this mirror window. They'll pop open that Surya gate, hacking it now with the clutch drone. Getting some good magnets as well. They don't have a great way of actually breaching that mirror window. They'll have to use a Selma charge on it if they want to get rid of that angle. Herds has not kept one in pocket, so he's going to have to just rely on whatever angles the attackers make if they do rock that Selma charge. For now, it seems like they're still going to be working towards getting this plant down. A couple players down below. That's Loban, who is lurking down there. Palu as well, but nothing too aggressive from Furia just yet.
The first pick is going to play a very important role here as to who comes out ahead. Looks like it'll be Furia's. Oh, they'll lose KZ though. Suddenly Furia have lost 2. w7m in control of this round. It's something that we haven't been saying all that much, but it's coming at the perfect time, Jesse. There go the logic bombs. JV92 firing through the wall created by Volps' sends. Down goes Felipox, and suddenly Furia has been reduced to 2 players, now outnumbered by w7m. Position still known. JV92 blind firing away. He'll take down Dots. 10 seconds left. A swing, and JV92 wins the duel. He's been terrific today. Down goes Volps, and Furia go from a 2v4 to a 2v0. And with it, most importantly, they go to the Munich Major.